You have the story of the 6 days. Yes, the Bible starts with creation, but it's obvious that it wants to get on with the story that comes after Adam. And so after that, it slows down dramatically. Have you ever been faced, I know I have you ever been faced with the notion of having to defend that? 6 days, come on. Was your answer a simple one that says, well, if the Bible says it, I believe it, and so should you? Do the observations of science support what was read at all? Or are we left with a very neat little tidy creation story that starts a book that we are to accept as we are told by faith? This morning I want to pursue that notion of the conflict, or perhaps the harmony, that exists between science and the Bible. From the time of Aristotle, about 2,300 years ago, scientific theory held that the universe was simply eternal, meaning it's always there. The unchanging stellar pattern of the heavens was a shining evidence of this eternity. Even through the 1960s, approximately 2/3 of the leading scientists surveyed shared that very belief. Always there. For 3,300 years since the revelation to Moses on Mount Sinai, the Bible denied it, steadfastly claiming that there was a beginning to our universe. Surprisingly, we must use caution when we're coming up with conclusions based on what we see. After all, early thought pervaded that the sun revolved around the earth, and the earth then had to be the center of the universe. Although proposed by the Greek astronomer Aristarchus in 300 BC, it was not until the 1500s when Copernicus made the correct case for the earth revolving around the sun. So thinking about that, should we call it a earth set instead of a sunset? In the battle between the church and science, the church took one on the chin with this one. The church had been teaching the earth was the center of the universe, and that was simply wrong thinking. Nowhere in the Bible, though, does it say that the earth was the center of the universe. Remember, the heavens were created before the earth, and the earth was created on the 3rd day. Back in 1917, using laws of general relativity he had published 2 years earlier, Albert Einstein developed a series of equations that described the condition of the universe. They showed something to him that was illogical, that the universe was dynamic, meaning that it was changing. The astronomer Vesto Slipher in Arizona had already reported measurements also that the universe was expanding. But Einstein had a mindset for an eternal, unchanging universe. That was simply too strong for him. He subjectively changed his equations so that they did describe this static universe, and he published his data. Later, Einstein would write to a colleague and state, the denial of his own theory was, quote, the biggest blunder of my life. Pause and take a little side trip note on Einstein. This was something neat I ran across a few months ago, and I want to share it this morning. Here's a quote from him on something of a little bit different nature. I fear the day technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will then have a generation of idiots. It's a phone, it's a post office, it's a calculator, a calendar, a digital camera, a digital video camera, a photo album, a stereo, a movie theater. I'm probably missing something. You get the point, though. Have you ever been at, say, a wedding reception? We have. wedding's over, you sit down, you're all excited, you sit down at the table and everybody's just right here. No talking. Right there. Or how about the fact that numerous people stood outside that coffee shop in Australia recently where people were murdered, and they took selfies of themselves in front of the coffee shop. Although it can be a great tool, I would say that cell phone addiction rivals any drug there is.
Amen.
My gosh, you even see them use sometime during a church service. Okay. Hello? I'm giving a sermon at church this morning. Yes. Yeah. No, right now. Okay. Okay, I'll take one. Yeah, okay, thank you. Now, back to the task. So now, if the universe is constantly expanding, then let's go back now and let's go in the other direction. So that means if it's expanding, then the further back you go, it gets smaller. The conflict between science and the Bible is really ironic because throughout the Bible, the knowledge of God is compared to the wonders of nature. Psalms 19:2 states, "The heavens tell of God's glory, and the sky declares his handiwork." Now I'll bring you to 1965. Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson discovered a cosmic microwave background radiation, abbreviated CMBR. Cosmic microwave background radiation. Fills the entire universe. It's unrelated to any particular source. That radiation remnant that they found, or echo, is from the Big Bang, from the creation of the universe. The big what? There's a school of thought that has ever-increasing scientific data that states the entire universe was packed into a microscopic speck of space. This primordial explosion set the universe in motion. Ever since the bang, the universe has been expanding. It continues to expand every day. The bang did not instantly create the universe, but it produced pure, exquisitely hot, radiant energy of such a high level that matter was able to form from the energy. Okay. What would be one of the most famous equations that you remember from school?
E equals MC squared.
Yep. E equals what?
MC.
Ah, very good. Very good. Thank you to Albert Einstein for that one. E stands for energy. M stands for matter. And C stands for the speed of light. C is a shortened version of the Latin word celeritas, which means swiftness. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. Aptly named. I pause for a little bit. Anytime I deal with something Latin, I always think back to my 9th grade Latin teacher, Miss Miller. Okay? You talk about someone with the power of God in a 5-foot frame. She had it. Okay? She taught Latin for close to 50 years. She used the same textbook. I'm not talking about new versions of the textbook. I'm talking about the same textbook. Because what you had to do the first day, she instructed you on how to get a paper grocery sack and put a cover on that book that you had to keep on that cover the whole year. All right? And you sign your name on the inside cover so everybody knew whose book, you know, it was. And it was neat. You would find, sometimes you would find signatures of students' parents on that inside of the cover. She allowed you to breathe in the class, but not a whole lot else. Okay? You had to, you know, when you conjugated verb endings, okay, you had to do it to her clapping cadence. It wasn't just you had to do it, you had to do it to, oh, this bit is fun. And she clapped and you sang, all right, and she would point, okay, and you had better be able to carry that tune, okay, or you're going to write it. Oh, it happened to me once. Golly, okay, I was unprepared. I think I wrote something 300 times that night. Oh, it was the last time I ever was unprepared in that class. 50 years ago, okay, still remember most of that class. Hardest class I ever took, okay, high school, college, grad school. Hardest class, Miss Miller. Who do you think's the teacher I have the most respect for now? Okay, now, back to these. Rules of algebra state that you can divide each side of an equation by the same non-zero quantity and not change the value of the equation. Okay? So we're going to do that right now. You divide both sides by c squared, then you have matter, let's read it from the right side. Matter equals energy divided by the speed of light squared. Now keep in mind that this value here $186,000 squared is what you're dividing by. Okay? That's a huge number. So how big would the energy have to be to divide by 186,000 squared? Have to be pretty big. You know, we've all been told there's power in the word. Okay? But usually the way it's said like this. There's power in the word. Well, when God said, let there be light, and then boom, you have the time where matter can form. Okay. The explosion was so huge. And mind you, he said, let there be light. There's your two components. There's the creation of the universe starting. This is the CMBR is aptly named because what that is, it's the echo from approximately 15 billion years ago from the back. Okay? Still fills the universe. It's everywhere. You know, have you ever been like in a big valley or something and you, hello, and it's hello. About 5 or 6 times. Oh, that's neat. Well, how long is that? About 3 seconds. Okay. 15 billion years, you can still hear it. That's the power of the creation. So, back to this dilemma. 15 billion years, that's science. That's science's figure, plus or minus, okay? Versus 6 days. The believer's task of reconciliation just got harder. Couple that with the fact that there are countless fossils that kind of confirm the 15 billion figure. And from the creation of 6 days, even if you go all the way through after Adam, okay, you only have about 6,000 years. Getting worse? No, maybe not. I'm going to share with you information by Gerald Schroeder from his book, The Science of God. He's an MIT physicist and a biblical scholar. Measure the age of the universe to be, like I said, 15 billion years old. That's from our earthly perspective, looking back from the present to the past. But the Bible's perspective is looking forward from the beginning. We learn this from the text recording the first day as day 1, not first day. Though the comparative ordinal forms of the numbers were used for the other days, i.e. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, Genesis uses the absolute cardinal form for day 1 because it was viewing time from the beginning of time, a perspective from which there was no other time for comparison. In 1915, Einstein published a description of nature that revealed an unnatural fact. The rate at which time passes is not the same at all places. Whoa. What? The rate at which time passes is not the same at all places. He realized changes in gravity and changes in velocity at which we travel actually change the rate at which our time flows. It was initially called the theory of relativity, but after many years of test, it's no longer called a theory, it's called the law of relativity. If we view an event from across a boundary, say looking from one location to another that has a different gravity or velocity, we can see that effect of time. That's why it's called the law of relativity, because it deals with one system relative to another system somewhere else. So the flow of time at a location with a high gravity or velocity will be slower than another area with lower values. This is known as time dilation. We're all familiar with the effect of gravity on our weight. You weigh less on the moon than you do on Earth. Be nice right after all the Christmas holidays. Scale up there. Gravity and velocity also affect time, though at a much slower rate. That's why it took somebody like Einstein to figure it out. If you're on a planet that had a gravity so massive that it slowed time by a factor of 350,000 relative to Earth's time, then in 2 years' time on Earth, only 3 minutes would pass on the other planet. If you could instantly come back to Earth, you'd now be 2 years younger than the people that were your same age when you left. While you were on the new planet, if you could look back to Earth, things would be happening really, really, really fast. And if you're looking on Earth to the new planet, things would be very, very slow during those 2 years. So, what time is correct? Both. Pardon the pun, but it's all relative. We can look at time from each perspective, from the Earth's perspective, looking backward in time to the present, and from the Bible's perspective in Genesis, looking forward in time from the start of day 1. It has to be viewed according to the law of relativity, but the scale has to be correct between the two. The opening chapter of Genesis acts like a zoom lens on a camera, day by day in increasing detail on less and less time and space. The first day of Genesis encompasses the entire universe. By the third day, only the earth is discussed. After day 6, only the line of humanity leading to the patriarch Adam is in the biblical view. This narrowing of perspective finds parallel in scientific notation. We're now all too familiar in Oklahoma with the Richter scale, okay, which assigns a number to describe the intensity of an earthquake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. Each number to the right, though, represents an earthquake that is 10 times the magnitude of the previous number, of the lowest number. So, an earthquake that measures 5 on the Richter scale is 1,000 times greater than one that measures 2. So back to the discussion of time, physicists use the exponential growth of what's called log E for their calculations. It occurs throughout nature, from the shape of the entire Milky Way galaxy to the graceful curve of a seashell, how a seashell is laid out. That's why they call it the natural law. Bear with me, I'm going to get a little bit more into the weeds, sorry. You got to see it. It's, come on, that's bizarre stuff, I know it is. But, you know, but like, it's not our language really, but I mean, that's the language of physicists. I mean, that's their bread and butter stuff, okay? That's the equation that, if we work that through, the A, the letter on the left side, stands for Earth time, okay, more like 15 billion years. A sub 0 is the ratio of the CMBR, cosmic microwave background radiation, to the current value of CMBR. L is the natural log of 2, and T is the time in Genesis days. Okay, so this equation represents, in simple terms, the scale factor between the 15 billion and the 6. So if we use this exponential stretching of time using the log E, the stretch factor, like in the Richter scale, it was times 10, 10, 10 to the power of 10, okay? This stretch factor is over 1,000,000 times 1,000,000. So if you apply this formula using the estimated age of the universe of 15 billion years, guess how many days you get? 6. Okay, 6. 6 days. In fact, one of Einstein's colleagues, Sir James Jeans, marveling at how well the universe can be described mathematically, is quoted as saying, "God must be a mathematician." Furthermore, we can take this formula and we can apply it to, rather than equating the 15 billion with the 6, we can now take it and I'm going to correlate between the days mentioned in Genesis and what science says happens. Okay? Day 1, the Bible in Genesis 1 through 5 talks about the creation of the universe. Light separates from dark. From the scientific viewpoint, the Big Bang marks the creation of the universe. Light literally breaks free as electrons bond to atomic nuclei. Galaxies start to form over 8 billion years. Second day, Bible 6 through 8. The heavenly firmament forms. Scientific view. The disk of the Milky Way forms. The sun, a main sequence star, forms over 4 billion years ago. The third day, Bible 9 through 13. The earth was formed. Oceans and dry land appeared. The first plants appeared. Scientific version. The earth is cooled and large bodies of water appeared, followed immediately by the first forms of life, bacteria, and photosynthetic algae. This covers 2 billion years. The fourth day, Bible 14 through 19, the sun, moon, and the stars become visible in the heavens. Scientific form version. Earth's atmosphere becomes transparent. Photosynthesis produces an oxygen-rich atmosphere over 1 billion years. Fifth day, Bible 20 through 23. First animal life swarms abundantly in the waters, followed by reptiles and winged animals. Scientific view. First multicellular animals. Waters swarm with animal life having the basic body parts of all future animals. Winged insects appear. This covers 500 million years. When I mention the days, come on. It doesn't exist. It all depends upon your reference point. Are you looking at it from Earth, looking back, or are you looking at it from creation, looking this way? Okay? One's 6 days, one's 15 billion years, but it's the same. After, and this is the confusing part, okay? After the 6 days of creation mentioned in Genesis, the Bible switches to earth time. Okay? He begat, you know. Okay, it's earth time then. But those 6 days of creation are described in the Bible using cosmic time because it covers so much of an area. Okay. Wouldn't you like to meet the person and visit with the person that wrote Genesis? I mean, talk about being led by God, what to write down. I mean, when that was, I know it wasn't written as verbal for a long time, but when it was established, we had no fossils and all this carbon dating and radiation, all that stuff. But it matches it. Day for the birth years. So, there you go. But wait, I haven't dealt with the dinosaurs. What about the dinosaurs? Well, that'll be for another sermon. But you know, 2 things should fill your mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe. The starry skies above us and the moral law that resides within us. The moral law that says, love God with all your heart. Love your neighbors yourself. The moral law that says, if you want greatness in this world, be a servant. I propose this morning they came from one and the same voice. We're at a point in the sermon where if you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and would like to have that, we're going to provide you an opportunity to make that move. What elders do we have here? Okay. Come and stand just here at the front in case someone needs to come and make that confession. I'd like for them to visit with you about that. Or if you just need prayer for some need and you didn't want to discuss it publicly, that's fine. You can discuss it with and pray with them, okay? So we're going to sing our hymn, Joy of the World. Yes, please.